You spoke of another party would have to go in and just rip things up, I suppose. Maybe a little bit like Milei in Argentina, something like that.
Oh, definitely.
Musk and Trump. Would this be?
I think we need Milei, Musk, Trump. What I have learned from talking to sort of friends, fellow travellers in other countries, is just how much worse the British state is.
Oh, really?
So if you speak to Canadians or Australians or Americans, they will say, yeah, we've got a problem with our bureaucracy, we've got a problem with our deep state, but it's nothing like as bad as your problem is. And I think the first thing people in Britain have to understand is how much worse we have it in terms of the power of the unelected in Britain compared to Canada, the US. And even in the US, Trump has had to take some pretty radical steps to get back control for the executive to actually be able to do stuff. And he's facing legal suits, he's facing onslaught of the Democrats, he's facing all this stuff because things in America were bad. But my message here is things here are worse.
So Milei went around with a chainsaw. That was his, a bit like Trump, just like go in like that. We've got Farage, but a lot of people are being a little bit critical of Farage at the moment because he seems to almost be retreating a little bit. Do you know what I mean? He's sort of being a bit wary of being associated with a Tommy Robinson or anyone like that, and he seems to be a bit cautious about what he's saying. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, my thoughts are the election's going to be probably in 2029. There could be an early collapse. I think we're headed for a financial crisis. There could be some kind of, but even after 1976, Callaghan managed to carry on until 79 before there was an election. So I think there is time, and it's not just about what is said. And in fact, Trump didn't say a lot of this stuff in the run-up to the election. He talked about Elon Musk, he talked about Doge. But these executive orders, some of them were a surprise. I didn't know the Gulf of Mexico was going to be renamed the Gulf of the US. Did you?
No, I didn't.
I didn't realise that, Canada was going to become the 51st president.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that was being planned, clearly, very, very, in a very detailed way, that wasn't said. Mm-hmm. And I think Britain does need an understanding about how bad the problem is and how broken the system is. Because I think that a government getting in 2029 has to have a mandate to completely change things in the way that Milei got the mandate. But does it mean that every single thing needs to be spelled out? Probably not.
Do you think?
And that's a balance any politician has got to strike.
Do you think that reform could get in, and would you be there with them, part of them?
Well, what I want to see, and it may not happen, but I would like to see the positive elements of the Conservative Party and the positive elements of reform fight together. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not sure if it's likely to happen, but that would be my preference because there needs to be major change. But what we can't have is more of the Conservative in name only, who go into government, say they're going to sort these things out and don't actually do it. So, in terms of Kemi Badenoch, she needs to actually say that she's prepared to reverse all of these Blair laws. Mm. Because unless you're prepared to reverse the Blair laws, nothing is going to change about this country.
And I think she came across as not necessarily weak, but not strong on those points on Trigonometry's podcast recently. She didn't really want to.
I'm amazed you're watching another of these podcasts.
I would never watch another one. They are my enemies.
You've just heard talk of it. You've heard talk of this.
Heard talk of this terrible podcast. I've inadvertently just given them now 20 because we've gone on a 20-second advert. That would have cost thousands for them to advertise on here, and they've got it now. I love them, and we'll all see them later. We're going to be at an event.
We are.
So it'll be lovely. We'll all have a drink. But yeah, Kemi, I think, was a little bit flim-flammy on that. And people want to see her go in strong.
I think there is a real mood for change in this country. And if you think about it, people voted for huge change in 2016 when they voted for Brexit. They voted for change again in 2019 when they voted for Boris. They even thought Keir Starmer was capable of changing things. I mean, I could have told them otherwise, but they, people in hope,
things.
People.
He is changing things. Censorship online, blaming Amazon
Well,
for
the
stabbing.
censorship online, I'm afraid it was the Conservatives who put through the online harms bill. So
That's true, but
a lot
he's
of
pushing for more, though, isn't he? That's
true.
his rhetoric.
He's definitely a worse version. I think we can agree he's worse. I think we can. He's accelerating towards the cliff edge rather than just ambling towards the cliff edge. But the fact is, the country's been headed towards the cliff edge for some time, and he is accelerating that pathway. But I think the country is beginning to understand just how serious the situation is. I think the rise of Islam and Islamism is a major issue. The economic crisis that we're facing, the energy crisis we're facing, the fact that not only do we have the highest energy prices in the developed world, our industry is closing down, our steel industry has now been decimated. We've also got the potential for blackouts, and
Really?
very seriously. Very seriously, our energy grid is in a serious state. So I think people really understand the level of the crisis. One of the things I'm trying to communicate is what actually needs to be done to fix it, and how the structural problems have contributed to why we're in the mess we're in. And what I want to see from Kemi and Nigel Farage is a recognition of that huge structural change that's going to have to happen.